This is 1 in 36, a presentation of the Anderson Center for Autism. 1 in 36 is a weekly show devoted to autism spectrum disorder.
Good morning and welcome to 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, Chief Development Officer at Anderson Center for Autism. And I'm speaking this morning with Ken and Daniel Trush, who are co-founders and really the heart and the soul and the family behind Daniel's Music Foundation. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Eliza, for having us. Really excited about being on the show.
Great. So, Ken, we're going to start with you, if you don't mind. Daniel, we're going to get to you in just a moment. If you could just tell us, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and maybe a little bit into the Music Foundation. And then I'd love to hear from you, Daniel, yourself directly. But Ken, why don't we start with you? Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I mean, my background is actually in business. I had a business career for over 40 years. Primarily in mergers and acquisitions. Started Daniel's Music Foundation in 2006 after Daniel was injured at age 12. Why don't you tell everyone what happened?
When I was almost 13 years old, one of my 5 undetected brain aneurysms burst inside my head. I went into a coma and I was in a coma for 30 days and I was in the hospital and rehab for a total of 341 days. But who's counting? Am I right?
You got that sense of humor.
Yeah, thank you. Our whole family
carry you through a lot of tough times.
Yep, we always say that this isn't a sob story.
Why do you say that, Daniel? Why is that important?
It's a happy story because of where we ended up.
That's great. And that takes a lot of strength. And I love that. I love that that's your message. I can imagine the smiles that that's bringing, just listening to that, to other parents and children and friends of people who might be going through a tough time for a lot of different reasons. So that's a wonderful attitude to have. My understanding, Daniel, is that this happened while you were in the middle of playing a basketball game. Is that correct?
Yes. While I was playing basketball at my school gym one Sunday afternoon, I took a shot and then I came running off the court holding my head, and I actually collapsed in his arms.
I guess I asked that question, Daniel, because I was curious if you really liked sports or if you really enjoy basketball. And do you ever have a chance to do any sports now as a young adult?
Yes. My father and I actually throw a basketball back and forth because if you could see my left hand spasms, but as long as the pinky's up, if somebody throws a basketball at me, the rest of the fingers will follow. That's
great. I think everything you've said so far, Daniel, just has this underlying positive message about it. And so I appreciate that. You're making me smile this morning. Ken, you've known Daniel since he was born. Has he always been an optimistic, positive person?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, always funny, quick processing speed, got along with just about everyone. And that hasn't changed.
I can see that. I'm thrilled and happy to know that through this traumatic experience, which sounds like got very scary for a period of time, that you've retained that part of your personality. That's a wonderful gift. So Ken, you said that after this really awful accident occurred or injury occurred for Daniel, you started Daniel's Music Foundation, which is in existence today. That's what we're going to talk about primarily, is why music, and what do you want our listeners to know about the Music Foundation? You know, what is it? Why does it exist? What's the mission? What do you love about it? And you can start in any of those places you'd like.
Thank you. I mean, when Daniel came home, he was different and our family was different. Daniel still has some short-term memory issues, but not when it comes to
music. I could listen to a song once or twice and then somehow remember all of the words.
And
amazing. Is that a new skill after the injury?
I think it is.
Yes.
Fascinating.
And so we took a very much of a strength-based approach. What was Daniel gravitating to? What was Daniel enjoying the most? And he basically, declared that he loved music. He was a musician before his injury. And since his injury, he took up the keyboard and he started singing. And so we looked online to look for programs with music and disabilities, and we couldn't find it. We saw music therapy, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm.
I was already having 5 therapies a day that were just me and a therapist. So we wanted to make Daniel's Music Foundation more group oriented so that people could be with other people on their own age and their own ability level. And what we found is that that's therapeutic in its own right.
And so
I'm sorry to interrupt. Daniel, a follow-up question. Did you feel a little isolated socially when you were having those 5 therapies a day, even though it obviously was having a positive impact for you in some ways, but you were alone in those sessions, just one-on-one?
And a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you must have missed your friends and your same age peers.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so there was a purposeful decision that this would not be music therapy, maybe something different, more social, more group oriented, and maybe a nice complement for people who are already receiving music therapy in a more traditional way.
That's exactly.
Okay. All right. So keep going, Ken. Take us through it.
So if we had found a program, we probably would have signed Daniel up. And since it didn't exist, we started with very modest plans. We really just had 1 keyboard class and 5 members. And the community where we live in New York City just supported us, and we kept growing. And today we have, why don't you tell everyone?
Today we have our very own big, beautiful 8,700 square foot music center in East Harlem.
Wow.
And we offer 50 free classes a week to over 250 musicians.
Wow. And how many people are on the staff, or how many instructors do you have? And do they volunteer or are they paid?
They're paid. We have 25 staff. We have 9 full-time and 16 part-time.
Amazing. And the 250 musicians that you're serving right now, are they a wide range of ages? Are they mostly young adults? Are there children involved? What are the parameters?
Yep, we range in age from 3 to adult.
3 to adult, so almost all the way.
That's true. I think our oldest musician is
in their 80s.
Yeah, but don't tell her that we said that.
I won't tell her that we said that. We don't need to out anybody based on their age. It's interesting that you've attracted instructors who feel comfortable with that range, because 3-year-olds, by and large, I would think, are just getting started on their musical experience. Whereas, and do you see that the people coming to your music center in Harlem, do you see people who are beginners all the way to people who have been musicians maybe for a long time and want this particular experience? Like, who's coming to these classes?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, all are welcome here. So beginners, people with a little more experience, but we center around, like we said earlier, socialization and community, because there's a lot of isolation in our community. There's a lot of people that are home and just on their computer or watching television. So we want to make sure that people, when they come here, they feel really comfortable while they're music. And so I would say about 70% of our musicians are individuals with autism. So we serve the majority of our members. And what we found is that music gets through like no other way.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
There's been studies shown. There was a study by the National Academy of Sciences where they said that 90 minutes of drumming per week can noticeably improve behavior, mostly related to impulsive and repetitive habits in autistic adolescents. And so we see that. And there was another study also that was done that stated that music therapy or interpersonal music exploration can clinically benefit autistic people. Evidence shows that music improves emotional responsiveness, improves speech and receptive labeling, and increased social interaction among peers. And we see that every day as well. And that was at the heart of why we started Daniel's Music. And we offer a lot of programs, but at the very beginning, we just wanted to make it free.
Yeah,
right?
we wanted to make it free because a lot of our musicians...
We always said music is...
Oh, yeah, we always say that music is a right rather than a privilege, and it should be open to everybody, no matter what their financial background.
And so,
that's a great message. Actually, that's a great place to take a quick break. So we're going to take a quick break, but then we'll come back. You're giving me all sorts of things to follow up with you about in the second half of the show. And Daniel, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it is, both of you, it is both something that should be accessible to all and available to all. And it is definitely a form of communication and connectivity that is like really nothing else. So, Ken and Daniel Trush from Daniel's Music Foundation, we're going to be right back. This is 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and we'll be right back.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude,
How's the temperature?
it's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Quash. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think you would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay, Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
And now, 1 in 36 continues on 100.7 WHUD. This is a weekly community affairs program presented by the Anderson Center for Autism.
Welcome back to 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and I'm speaking today with Ken and Daniel Trush, the co-founders of Daniel's Music Foundation. And Ken and Daniel, thank you for giving us the background and sharing your story and your experience with us in the first half of the show. I know that there's more that you want to get out, and we want to talk about some of the specific programs that you offer now and how you've grown, obviously. But I just have to mention this because this is a theme that I've seen recently in several interviews that I've done on this podcast. One was with a librarian who's doing this really great programming out of her library. There were a couple of others that have just come to mind, and you're reminding me of this. There are so many ways to create a community center. And community centers, when I was growing up, bring to mind very specific buildings where you'd sort of gather and you could use them often for free or a nominal charge to do sort of whatever you wanted to do to get people together. And what I've noticed now is a lot of people creating either a foundation or a program or a regular event that serves the same purpose as what I remember to be a community center. And what you're describing, where, you've got 25 staff, you've got 250 musicians from age 3 all the way through the adult ages, 50 free classes, 8,700 square feet of music center space in Harlem, New York, which is very well known for its focus on community and being connected. That general area, it just all brings to mind that there are probably a huge number of, like, maybe I don't even want to call them secondary, but maybe additional benefits that maybe you could talk about when people are coming together to share the musical experience. Were there any things that have started to happen that you didn't expect or that you just think are a really wonderful additional benefit of you starting this foundation and having these programs happening in a community setting?
I think the number one thing is friendship. I mean, people get to know each other. There's a group of people that go out to dinner after classes together.
That's great.
Independence, making decisions, helping out in the classroom, Our instructors have done a wonderful job of asking our members to distribute instruments, put instruments away. So responsibility. I mean, I think all those things came about that we really didn't think about early on.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful to see.
It's usually the way the best things happen is when you don't exactly plan for every little detail. You have a seed of an idea, you pursue it with enthusiasm and passion and smarts, right? And in a business sense. And then you see these beautiful outcomes. I love that. Daniel, how often are you at the Music Center?
I'm here 5 days a week.
So you're a full timer.
Yes.
Okay. And do you teach or do you play or what is your role there in addition to being the co-founder?
I help out in a lot of our classes. And for the little guys, the 3 to 7 year olds, I'll play Name That Tune because I play the keyboard. So I'll pick a song and then I'll play it and they have to guess what it is.
Great game. Love that. That can keep kids entertained for hours, I would think.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
excellent.
Thank you.
And do you have any sense of where this ability to listen to a song once and know all the lyrics? Do you remember the first time you realized that you could do that? Or does it feel like it's always been part of you now?
Yeah, it feels like it's always been a part of me now.
That's great. Do you have a certain kind of music that you love the most?
I would say maybe folk
Nice.
rock.
Yeah, folk rock.
Very cool. I grew up with a lot of that. My parents they both played guitar and all sorts of instruments. We always had some kind of music going on in our house.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have a big appreciation for it. And so Ken, tell us a little bit more about some of you. I assume not all the programs are free, or is it all free all the time?
I'm going to give an overview of the program.
Yeah, great.
And I actually have our director of teaching and learning with us, and she can go into some of the programs and what happens within each one. But we have the in-person class, which was where we started. We've given over 13,500 free classes since we began. We also have field trips for schools and organizations that come, and that's fee-based.
Okay, great.
The private lessons as well. And we have a wonderful resource of an on-demand channel where we have free videos where people can go on, and we've had over 200,000 views since we started. But when the pandemic hit, we went online, and we have online events, which are free, dance parties, open mics, sing-alongs. And now we're looking to expand our online classes. Okay. And that's something that Juliana, who's our director of teaching and learning, has been working really hard on this area about what to project. So people out in Hudson Valley can join us online if they don't want to have to commute into the city. And I'd love for Juliana to talk and kind of get a little more detail of what the classes are like and what people can expect if they come on.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Juliana?
Juliana, that's correct.
Very nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, we have a couple minutes, about 5 more minutes left in the interview. If you want to take a couple of those minutes and give us a little deeper dive into the programs and opportunities, that'd be great.
Sure. So, as Ken mentioned, we have a number of different programs. We have the online, we have the group classes, the free program. We have also our private lessons that we offer. What all of them seem to have from a teaching standpoint is a mix of multi-sensory teaching techniques that seem to work really well. We use a lot of visual aids. Our instructors will use anything and everything they can use at their disposal to get musical concepts and ideas across. So, for example, they may use a parachute to teach note values, because then you're able to really feel what a whole note feels like, or a half.
Oh, cool. Great idea.
I always say to our students, some people hear rhythm. Some people read rhythm. Some people see rhythm. They can just see it. And other people feel it. So we teach a lot through eurythmics as well, the feeling of music. I've even seen instructors take every manipulative they have, shakers, sticks, scarves, and say to a student, okay, when you hear this piece of music, what do you see? And they'll actually create what they see. And then when you look back at what's been put out, you notice they're using scarves to show high sounds, or they're using shakers to indicate an eighth note being played. And when you see the patterning in it, it's absolutely unbelievable. We at Daniels really believe, as Daniel said, that music belongs to everybody. It's a right. It's a right, not a privilege. And so what our instructors really do, in my opinion, is translate what has become the traditional teaching methods of music to suit everybody. So they don't adapt something, they don't modify it. They adapt themselves in order to teach the art that, in my opinion, is probably one of the most inclusive things on the planet by nature.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That sounds amazing. I love all the examples you gave. I love that you helped me out as a child growing up in the in high school in the 80s and 90s. Now I know what Eurythmics means. I listen to them all the time. Now you've hopefully helped others, not just me, know that that actually means something specific in the music industry.
But a great band, by the way.
What?
Fabulous band.
Oh, fabulous band. I just think it's hilarious that I don't think I ever once bothered to check to see what it meant. But I also, the last thing you said, that the instructors that you hire and who are obviously passionate about what they do there are aware that in order to be successful in what they're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish and what the students are coming to experience and to learn, a lot of effort has to go into being introspective and seeing, okay, this is the way I was taught. This is the way my natural teaching self gravitates, but it's not working in this situation. And so I'm going to adapt. That's hard to do. I think for anyone. But I part of me just feels like maybe music lends itself because it's so creative and it's so, it can be so ambiguous in the most wonderful ways that now, I don't have much more time here with you guys, but I just want to encourage everybody listening to go to your website, and Ken or Juliana, whoever's there, can shout out the website so people get it.
www.danielsmusic.org. All one word, apostrophe.
No apostrophe, no spaces. danielsmusic.org. I love it. Spoken from the man himself. And I love the online opportunities, the dance parties. I will certainly be sharing this with the team here at Anderson, just in case they're not already aware of it, to make sure that they know that this is something they can check out. We have a lot of students and adults who love music, some of whom play beautifully, some of whom love to sing, many of whom love to have an after school or after, late afternoon dance party. I've seen that myself in person. So we'll be sharing this around here. Is there anything specifically coming up real soon or plans for the future that you want to just briefly touch on before we finish up?
In 11 days, we have the Danny Awards.
Okay.
Which is really, I would call it, you always say it's like the
Grammy Awards for members of our community.
And it's going to be at Symphony Space on 90 Broadway. We get musicians from all over the world to perform on stage. They're chosen by a panel of judges. And we expect about 750 people at Symphony Space and thousands of people live streaming it. And that's also on the website.
Wonderful. Well, visit Daniel's Music, right? danielsmusic.org for more information about all the programs, how to get in touch, what is offered. You'll see a wonderful video, a TEDx video that was up there that kind of shares a little bit more detail about your story, Daniel and Ken, from the family's perspective. I assume that this event also serves as some level of fundraiser or maybe a main fundraiser for the program. I hope it does, in fact.
Well, the event is free, but we do ask for people to donate if they enjoy what they see.
If they can.
They can, that's right. Yeah. Again, we want to make it open to everyone.
Wonderful. Well, I would encourage everybody listening to go to the website and check it out. And I just want to thank you both, Daniel, especially. I want to thank you for sharing your story so beautifully and for being such a positive presence in the world. Ken, I appreciate just on behalf of everyone at Anderson, we always appreciate families who recognize an opportunity to do something for people beyond your son, your individual loved one, or a close-knit community, and do something bigger. And I love that. And Juliana, it sounds like you have a great job and are looking to expand it. So thank you for the information. And thank you so much, all of you, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity, Eliza. Really.
Absolutely. My pleasure. This is 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky. And remember, Anderson cares.
You've been listening to 1 in 36, a weekly presentation of the Anderson Center for Autism. Join them for another edition of the show at this time next weekend.